Summer coming up, but first.
We need to know the full extent of that relationship. We need to know the full extent of Senator Obama's relationship with ACORN, who is now on the verge of maybe perpetrating one of the greatest frauds in voter history in this country, maybe destroying the fabric of democracy.
So is John McCain trying to fight voter fraud, or is he attacking ACORN to suppress voter turnout? That is what the group of community organizers is saying today. Scott Levenson is ACORN's national spokesperson. ACORN under investigation for voter fraud as we speak. So you think it's not nearly as bad as he's saying?
It's not even a question of nearly as bad, Neil. What's really interesting in the way this whole issue rolled out is how the facts that were just wrong got so far down the road before anybody corrected them. Let me just give you a couple of examples. First, this whole issue of 5 forms there, 20 forms there, 50 forms here that are not good or fraudulent or whatever the accusation is. What really happened was during the course of the 18-month voter registration drive, we earmarked and tagged specific forms that we thought were problems. We turned those forms over to the local boards of elections over the course of the 18 months on a bi-weekly basis. What some of these boards clearly did was save up all those forms that we identified, and over the last 2 weeks, turn them over.
So you're saying you're not trying to snooker anyone. Here's the rep.
I'm sorry.
Okay, here's the reps.
Please.
That you're trying to register guys in prison. That was one charge. Was that true?
No, it's not true. And in fact, what you have is cases where we identified any problem cards. Some of those might be people who were inappropriately registered.
It wasn't just a few, Scott. So you had cases of some who were being repeatedly signed up for multiple voter registrations.
And Neil, what you point out now is a really important point, and Senator Obama actually spoke to this point yesterday because he ran voter registration drives. We pay people $8 an hour. Voter registration work is difficult. It means
I'm not taking anything away from the difficulty.
No, but it's important to understand what happens. This is what happens.
Hundreds, potentially thousands, potentially more were improperly registered or falsely or illegally registered. In other words, that you were inflating. That's what I want to know.
No, we have a couple of issues here. First of all, it's important that people recognize that registration fraud is not voter fraud. No one in their right mind thinks Mickey Mouse is
Are you a lawyer?
No, I'm not.
All right. Okay, well, then we might be okay. If Mickey Mouse is getting registered and Mickey Mouse votes.
But Mickey Mouse isn't going to vote. That's the absurdity.
Mickey Mouse was registered.
But that's the absurdity.
Someone with ID as Mickey Mouse is going to vote.
Neil, please.
Now, maybe if Cinderella is picked for president, that's it.
Neil, this is the absurdity of it. No one thinks that. And what you have is
when people are saying, now you had 13,000 plus doing this registration, right? Now, you're quite right. Mistakes are going to be made. But the fear is that just using exponential factors, potentially tens of thousands were recruited to vote who shouldn't have.
And this would be a concern if we didn't do our due diligence in the first place and tag and identify those cards throughout the process. But as I said in my first opening statement, cards like Mickey Mouse in particular, or some of the other cards that have gotten some press attention, were in fact identified by us.
No doubt, and you did bring a lot of this stuff to attention. But all of a sudden, when you admitted to that and revealed that, then other things came out, and then they started saying, Scott, you know what? These guys are out of control.
But Neil, this is the concern. Admitted to that. Came forward with that. As if we just did so over the last 2 weeks. But when we've been meeting with
Scott, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with admitting to it, but when you admit to a problem and it's revealed to be a big problem, whether you admitted to it or not, it is still a big problem, right?
Absolutely. It's the state boards of elections in each of these cases.
So why are you dissing John McCain for making it a big issue?
Because this is what's critical here. What's critical here is not the Mickey Mouse fear, which is a cocked-up fear, because nobody believes Mickey Mouse is really voting.
Well, there are a lot of other people that don't go by the name of Mickey Mouse that are voting who shouldn't be voting.
What is the real challenge here is the importance of registering and making sure that the 1.3 million folks who want to vote, who are legitimately registered, actually get on the rolls. And why it's a voter suppression attempt by the McCain campaign is because this whole shadow stops these state boards or slows down these state boards from getting these legitimate folks.
But Scott, you misrepresented Senator McCain's position. He was for, quite clearly, registering all those who have not been voting to vote.
Oh, Neil,
no. He was not for registering people in prisons.
Neil, it's not true.
He was not for registering Mickey Mouse and the Seven Dwarfs. He wasn't for
that. That is not true. It's not true. Tell me. Tell me, when was the last voter registration campaign driven by the Republicans?
So wait a minute. So
No,
you're saying that
Neil,
when he was pushing, when he was pushing for getting more minorities registered, for getting folks who didn't in the past.
When?
Wait a minute. You said in the past you supported us and you supported ACORN, Senator, in the past. Now you're saying he's changed his mind.
No, let's be clear. John McCain showed up and supported us at our immigration rally because he supported our efforts on immigration law.
Right.
But on voter registration, it's clear the McCain campaign.
So why do you look? No. Why do you look at
Neil,
that as a conflict? If he is no.
Okay.
Here's the heart of the race.
Sure, please.
If you're saying that he is, trying to be very select and using you as a campaign prop, then why would he be for your organization's stance on illegal immigration and then cite while you're trying to encourage more people to vote when you abuse that or screw up doing that?
Well, first of all, the real fact is the Republicans haven't spent a dime on voter registration, Neil. So when you really talk about
are you saying that the people you're trying to register are Democrat?
Let me finish. The truth is that the Republicans don't want people to register, don't want people to participate in the democratic process. They want to suppress the vote, and that's true of their history since 1964.
Republicans don't want people to vote.
They want to suppress the vote.
So they're wasting their time with all these commercials urging them to vote for their guy.
No, they appeal to their base, and their negative ads appeal to their base. But as long as they don't expand the electorate, they think that's in their interest. What the Democrats are about, and what clearly...
So you're trying to raise Democratic votes, are you saying?
No, what I'm saying is the Democratic Party clearly invested in voter registration, and groups like ACORN clearly are invested in empowering the disempowered.
Scott, I ought to tell you, you ought to get this word across to John McCain. He is spending tens of millions of dollars getting people out to vote. He's wasting his time. Right?
I actually think John McCain is spending tens of millions of dollars trying to suppress the vote, Neil, and that's our concern.
He is trying to deliberately suppress the vote. So if you were aggressively raising Republican votes, you don't think you'd be doing that?
No, I actually think what we're doing is encouraging young people, people from the inner cities, people who never participated.
So if they all voted Republican, how would you feel?
Great. Because we think, no,
you are lying to me.
This is the real truth.
Lying.
This is the real truth. Right now, we don't ask a soul what party they belong to. We don't ask a soul who they're going to vote for. We register folks.
All right, so we heard about all these Obama sympathizers who were part of the registering process. That was not the case.
No, I didn't say that nobody who registered somebody to vote has a specific preference. There might be some folks that
you're saying Republicans are evil, Republicans trying to suppress the vote.
Did I say evil?
Obama folks
Did I say evil?
You said suppress the vote.
That's true.
All right, I want to get you back, Scott, because Mickey Mouse just voted 17 times in the course of our discussion.
Well, he must have been living